Hi, welcome back, everybody. My name is Dennis Brown, and today we are going to be doing another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live like every Monday at noon. This is a free training, and today we're going to talk about how a past student of mine and a freight broker that had just started up here in the last year did over $1.2 million in sales focusing and leveraging LinkedIn without making any cold calls. Okay. So without really making any cold calls, he's got some tips he wants to share with you today from his success in the last year. We're going to dive into that. But before we do, hit me up in the comments and let me know where you're joining from. If you're hitting this on replay, hit up the hashtag replay. If you're catching this live, let me know the city and state you're logging in. We'll give a few shout outs and then we're going to go live. And then from there, after we do the live training, okay, we're going to jump into Q&A, right? So if you stick around to the end, we will do some Q&A. I also have a special announcement that you guys are definitely not going to want to miss. You may or may not have heard, but it's something very important that you need to hear about today. So without further ado, we've got a bunch of people that are joining us. So let's give some shout outs real quick. Cynthia, welcome from District Heights, Maryland. Amerifreight from Atlanta, Georgia. Holistic Logistics from Kennesaw, Georgia. Sasha Taylor from Sacramento, California. Welcome. Bobby Brown from Las Vegas, Nevada. Welcome. Welcome. Next Links from Valley Stream, New York. Brandon from Miami, Florida. Jose from Chicago. Devin Coleman from Markham, Illinois. Santonia Evans from McDonough, Georgia. Dominique from Houston, Texas. A. Malik Stewart, welcome. Anthony from Forney, Texas. A. Malik Stewart from Philadelphia, PA. Welcome. James Clark from Houston. Ariel from New York, New York. Eric from Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Tej Sethi from Toronto, Canada. Welcome, Tej. BX Bomber from New York City. Daniel Rowe from Northwest Arkansas. Victor Ward from College Station, Texas. Faith Crawford from Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sorry if I can't get to everybody, but I do want to get to the interview. I do want to get to the training because today my guest is going to share with you how he was able to generate over $1.2 million as a freight broker in his first year without cold calling. Okay, so if that interests you, you're definitely going to want to stick around for a few minutes because he's going to share with you some tips. And then again, we're going to dive into some Q&A at the end. All right. So I'm going to bring up my guest really quick here. Boom. So this is Mike Burke. Mike is a friend of mine, past student. Welcome to the show, Mike. Thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me, Dennis.
Yeah, Mike's been on the podcast or on the live before, I should say. We talked about kind of his early startup success, some of the things he did. You guys could check that out in a previous interview. I think it's hosted on YouTube, or you might be able to get it on a Facebook on the Facebook page. But ultimately,
mainly on YouTube.
Mainly on YouTube. But yeah, he's done extremely well. He had kind of a rocky beginning and a slow start, but since then he's really nailed it. And again, like I said, he's done over $1.2 million in the last year without cold calling. So that's why we're here today. Mike, give us a super quick intro, explain, broker, where you're at, just kind of set the plate, and then we'll dive into the training.
Okay. Well, I started my broker in the beginning of 2021. I opened up my doors on January 1st, and between January 1st and end of April, business was nothing. But I didn't give up. I kept pounding the emails out and hitting LinkedIn, trying to get connections. Finally, end of April, I got my first customer and started moving loads. Then the third customer came along and the fourth. So by the end of the year, I wound up doing just almost 500,000 for the year.
And that was in 2021.
2021,
yep.
Correct. But my year really started jumping from July. That's when it really started picking up and moving along. And come the beginning of this year, I had a little slowdown in January, mainly because of the weather and a lot of other couple of things. And then February, I nailed this customer, again, using LinkedIn. I found him on LinkedIn. We talked a little bit there, emailed, talked on the phone a little bit, and then he started giving me container loads. and and then that's where the money is in drayage, big money.
So let's
And
talk
started
about
going
that.
to
So let's talk about that a little bit. Your niche, when you first started out, did you pick a niche? Was it kind of like you were just taking a shotgun approach and seeing what stuck? How did you approach the niche, and what are you doing today?
actually I kind of stuck to a niche. Um, basically, I run plastics and polymers, and this customer brings in a lot of polymers from overseas in containerfuls all the time. We get in between 10 to 20 loads a month. There was one month I did 40 containers in a month. So, I mean, it's just a continual process of bringing in all this recycled plastic from Europe and, the Middle East.
So it's
So, and they,
recycled plastic. It's recycled plastics, but it's also niched down into more import, right? So these are
yeah,
containers coming in, and
yep,
then they're transloading them onto a ship, into a secure warehouse, and then you're sending a carrier in, and then they're doing kind of the last mile.
right. And basically, I do all the work for my customer. I arrange the drayage service, I arrange the transloading at the warehouse, and then dry vans coming in and picking up the cargo in the warehouse to bring to the customer's facility. Um, so basically, that's why my pricing is so high and making the good money. But at the same time, I have to pay out to the drayage in the warehouse, which I get a break on because my friend owns the warehouse. So I make some decent money on it.
Yeah, great. So
Yeah,
you're really focusing on kind of imports that are in the plastic niche. Of course, you could
yeah,
translate that into other types of products. Once you understand the concept of import, export, transloading, drayage, and all that, you could do that for almost any product, probably.
yeah. Actually,
Um,
I'm in the process right now of having a meeting on Thursday with another potential customer for importing auto parts. So,
awesome.
and that, yeah.
All right, great.
So,
Well, why don't we dive into, the thing that I remember, again, is this is over a year ago, was when you purchased my no cold calling course. And my no cold calling course is a program that's designed around exactly what it sounds like. People that are shy about cold calling and or maybe don't have the time to make hundreds of cold calls a day. And they were looking for another channel or a strategy to generate clients. And so that's where we focus in on LinkedIn and social selling. You purchase that course, and like anything else, great information is only as good as you put it to work, right? So many people
right.
purchased that course and didn't take action on it, or had a little bit of rejection and didn't continue on. But from what I can tell, based on our conversation, it sounds like you really ramped it up and you really leveraged that as your primary source for getting clients.
Yeah, because I hate the phone.
Yeah, cold
I
calling.
will
Yeah,
not pick up the phone and call somebody cold. I'm not saying I don't pick up the phone and call people because I do. Usually, it's a warm call because
yeah.
they've seen my name and know my name and when I call
Yeah,
them.
perfect. All
So,
right, so why don't we do this? Let's share the basic fundamentals of the process that you've been using. And again, guys, this is not rocket science, okay?
no, it's not.
This is not rocket science. This is very simple, but it's proven to be effective if you do it the right way, okay? So, let's hear your version on how you've been able to leverage it, Mike. Talk to us kind of how you start this whole process, get this flywheel going with finding and starting to have conversations with shippers in
Right.
your niche.
When I first started out, I was just using LinkedIn's basic messenger and finding shipping managers, logistic managers, and sending them a quick little hello, introducing myself. And basically, my opening email is, I would like to connect with you. Having a professional like you in my network will be a plus to me. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, and
And
you're
that's it.
sending a LinkedIn message, not an email, right?
Yeah, LinkedIn
Yeah, so it's a
message.
LinkedIn message. Yep. Okay.
Yep. Basic, simple,
Quick
you know.
intro, right? Quick
Yep.
intro, custom
So if
connection
they
request.
so if they answer that, then I have another one where, I thank them for, accepting my message and my connection, and, we go from there. And if they answer my second email with the third, that's when I pick up and I try to find a way to find their email, either ask them or use some of the tools that are out there, like Lucia. That's, you know, big one for LinkedIn. Um, I also use Rocket Reach to get emails.
Hmm.
Those are my two main sources to get emails. I mean, there's a whole bunch of systems out there that you can use to find somebody's email.
And just so you guys
Uh,
know, Lucia is a plugin for a Chrome browser, and it's a plugin that you can use that when you're on a LinkedIn profile, it will actually give you some additional information, including maybe phone numbers and emails and contact information specific to that person if it's not already on their profile. So let me just summarize what you said from the beginning. You searched for people on LinkedIn that were in your niche: shipping managers, warehouse managers, logistics managers.
mhm.
You sent a simple connection request, but it was a custom connection request, just something warm and friendly, but not salesy. And then from there, if they accepted your connection request, you sent them a thank you message, thanking them for the connection. And then from there, you're using tools, or you're using their profile or different tools to find their email, correct?
Correct.
And then from there, all right, so now that we've found their email, do you stay inside of LinkedIn and messaging them, or are you pivoting over into email? How does that work?
I pivot over to email then,
Okay. All right. So talk
and
about
send
it from
them,
there.
I send them an email now, more salesy,
Hmm.
basically giving them the fine points of my company, Teddy's Logistics, and, trying to get them to understand, what I can bring to their table for them
Yeah.
in the email.
Hmm.
And then I use a mass email system. Basically, I use Gmail, so I use a program called Gmass, where you can send out a mass of emails at one time. And usually I send out about 10 to 15 at a time, just so I don't get overwhelmed. And you look and you see who's opened your emails, you see whose emails got blocked or whose emails don't exist at all. So the ones that get open are the ones I call first and, try to get in and talk to them. A lot of times, you still have to get past the gatekeeper, who some of them can be really nice and some of them are tough.
Right.
Um, you know, but you get your ways. And the one thing I never ever do, and I keep telling my agents never, never to do that have worked for me or currently working for me, is when you call the gatekeeper, don't ever, ever say you're a broker. Don't ever say the name of your company. Just say, I'd like to speak to the shipping manager. I have a question about a load. And 98% of the time, they'll either give you their phone number, put you through to them, or give you their email again. And basically, it's like, well, I have their email, but, this is something I need to speak to them. So can you put me through to their voicemail so I can leave a voicemail? And then you leave a nice voicemail, asking them to call you back because you got questions about a shipment. And 95% of the time, I get callbacks when I say that.
Yeah. And so here's the thing, guys. What you have to understand, this is a very simple process, but if you break this down into the basic fundamentals, what Mike is doing is he's approaching them in a non-salesy format via LinkedIn, and he's warming them up. He's creating some awareness. He's starting to build that know, like, and trust that you need in order to start doing business with people. Because again, first they got to know who you are. And he started that with LinkedIn, right? And then, he emailed them. And so there's another touch point. And then he's using the phone to do outreach. So he's using a multi-channel outreach approach where he's using LinkedIn, email, and phone. But he doesn't use the phone in this situation for Mike. He doesn't use the phone until he's already made multiple touch points and they know who he is because they've already seen his name. Fact is, if they accepted his connection request on LinkedIn, they've already looked at his profile because nobody accepts a connection request from a stranger unless they've already looked at their profile, right? So they already know what he does. He doesn't have to go out there and start talking about and puking on them about his business or about what he can do when it's cold. He waits till it's a little bit warmed up. He warms these leads up using that multi-touch point channel or, approach. And then from there, he just, starts continuing to develop that relationship and sharing the value that he can provide. It can literally be that simple, right? People like to overcomplicate stuff. What I love about what you're doing, Mike, is the simplicity of it. And number two, the system, the way you've kind of systematized it in such a way that it would allow you to teach this to anybody or to duplicate or replicate this,
Yeah, I mean,
over and over again.
Yeah, I've have helped other past students to show them the way how to do it. I mean, if we have time at the end and if we can like do a quick screen share, I can just show you quickly how to do it. The main thing, like Dennis said though, is your profile. They do look at your profile, and you do need to have a very professional looking profile, and in your profile have how you can help their companies and what you do. Otherwise, yeah, because if you don't have a good profile, they're not going to connect with you, and then you're not going to be able to move on with them.
That's right. You have to fully optimize your LinkedIn profile, and the optimization is not for sales. It's not for conversion. It's to make a good impression and to build trust. You want somebody to look at that profile and say, wow, this guy or gal is legit. They sound completely professional, and I would be happy to connect with them. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to do business with them. It just means that I'm going to connect with them. And if they connect with you, now all of a sudden they've allowed you into their world. And that's when that first checkbox of the know, like, and trust gets checked off. They know who you are. Now you got to go like, and then you got to build trust, right? In order for them to do business with you. And I think this is a perfect time, Mike, because I just want to share this. I said to everybody there was going to be a special announcement here. And if you guys like the idea of this no cold calling system that Mike is sharing with you, the good news is I'm actually including the no cold calling program, $1,500 value, in my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program you guys have probably heard about. That program is closing today, right? I launched it last week. We filled up the program. I've left a few spots open so that we could do this live today. So literally, if you guys are interested in being a part of that Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program and getting a free bonus of the no cold calling program, that Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program is where I take that piece of my brain, everything about sales, selling, the freight broker sales process, technology, how to leverage all that, and predictably get clients. As a matter of fact, Mike was a part of that program. In addition to the no cold calling, he was also a part of the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program. So I'm going to throw the link up here on the screen where you guys can get enrolled. But again, it is going to close today. Okay. It is going to close down today. Hold on one second. Why is it doing it that way? Scroll. Okay. So boom. All right. So there it is, guys. So if you guys want to get enrolled in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program, you're going to have to do it today. Again, it's going to close by 6 p.m. There's a counter on the webpage. When you get to that site, you're going to see all the details of it, how to get enrolled, everything about payment plans and all that sort of stuff. You'll be able to do that, but you got to do it today. Okay. So that's the special announcement. This is your last chance. This is the last call. You're not going to get any more messages from me after this, letting you know that you can get enrolled. And after the enrollment, I can't accept you into the program, right? After the timer ends, I can't accept you into the program. So you're going to have to get enrolled today. But again, that includes the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program, as well as a bonus of this no cold calling system that Mike is sharing with you today. So sorry to take that big break there, but I did want to let everybody know that before it closes out today. So anything else you want to add, or where do you go from there? I mean, at that point, it's really focused more on continued email and phone follow-up. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, just like anything. I mean, once you nail, you know your client and they want to do business with you. I mean, you're constantly in contact with them. and you have to be. I mean, you can't just like, okay, they're giving me loads and never talk to them again because that won't work.
Yeah.
I daily, I'm talking to my customers on a daily basis, except for the ones that, give you a load once a month or, once every other month. I have about 30 of those kind of customers. And, I'll email them once a month, what's up? Hey, how you doing? Um, but the ones that are giving me loads daily, I mean, I'll email them every day.
Yeah, you really
And
need, after you do get the clients, you really do need to stay top of mind because these people are busy, right?
mhm.
And, they're managing, you got to understand they're managing a lot more freight and a lot more things than just what they're giving to you. They might be managing hundreds or even thousands of loads a week or month. And so, if you're not top of mind, then you're probably going to eventually you're going to kind of fall between the cracks, right? Especially if you're not one of their major providers. If you're one of their major providers and you're handling 30 or 40 or 50% of their freight load, that's a little bit different. They're not going to forget about you. But if you're just doing a couple loads a week or a few loads a month, you're definitely going to fall through the cracks, right? So I like that whole concept of using email, but I do also think it's really, really important that you have an actual dialogue with them on the phone. The thing that I really did was, in addition to being on the phone, when possible, I would try to go out and visit them. Now I know that's not always possible, right? You're in Florida. If your customers in Washington or in Canada or someplace
Yeah,
distant,
I
sometimes
just,
it's hard to travel out there, but you would be shocked how valuable it can be and the difference in the type of relationship you have when you are actually able to sit down with them face to face.
yeah, I mean, one of my closest customers to my vicinity is in Orlando,
Yep.
which is about an hour, hour and a half away
Yep.
from Tampa. So, I mean, if they were a bigger customer, I would like, go out and visit them. I did send them pizza one time.
Nice.
Uh, yeah, just because they were giving me a bunch of loads for about a month and a half, and then they got to kind of quiet it down a little bit, and I sent the pizza as a thank you. Um, and they loved it, and they try to give me as much as they can give me. They don't really run a lot of outbound, and most of this inbound stuff is done by, their customer that they're getting it from.
Yeah, makes
So,
sense. So is
yeah.
there anything else you want to add about that process of taking it from finding them on LinkedIn to starting to engage them on LinkedIn and then
Yep.
converting over to email and then converting over to the phone? Anything you want to talk about in that process? Anything else you want to add?
Yeah. Actually, just want to talk about people who to contact. I mean, everybody is going after like logistics managers, warehouse managers, and shipper managers, transport managers. I focus on higher ups.
Hmm.
I go after like, director of logistics or transportation or shipping. I also go after plant managers, director of operations, operation managers, um, anybody that deals with the warehouse is who I target.
Yep.
Um,
Now, why do you
sometimes
do that? Explain to me why you do that and why you made that distinction. What was the benefit versus, pros
decision
versus
maker,
cons? Yep.
decision makers, your shipping manager, you do have to get a report with your shipping manager because I got burned one time. I spent 3 weeks, whining and dining, emailing, going back and forth with his director of operations. He loved me. We signed everything. We went through all mess of paperwork. I had to upgrade my insurance to meet their insurance. And I didn't bother reaching out to the shipping managers of the company. And when he, sent out an email, he CC'd me on it to his shipping managers. We're going to start using Teddy's Logistics and blah, blah, blah. Not a single shipping manager ever got back to me.
So what did
And
that what did that tell you?
that told me you need to build relationship with the lower ranks and the upper ranks.
That's right.
Uh, just that's where you got to focus your attention.
Yeah, what you have to
And
understand is that in a corporation, in a business, very, very, very rarely is in this day and age is there one person that makes the final decision. Okay. It's very rare that that's the case, unless it's the CEO. And in a lot of cases, they don't even make the exclusive decision without having the input of their circle of influence. Right.
Mhm.
And so what I like what Mike is saying, and that is, when you're going after a prospect, you might not just wine and dine or reach out and try to connect with just one person, right? Yes, you should reach out and develop a relationship with the shipping manager. Yes, you should try to develop a relationship with their boss. And you might even want to try to develop a relationship with their boss, because now you have number one, you have a much larger opportunity and a better opportunity that you're going to start a dialogue with that shipper.
Mhm.
And number two, when you have multiple people in that organization that know who you are and you can reference each other, it only helps to build that know, like, and trust that's required in order to start doing business with you. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, I love that. I find that, a lot of people, you definitely don't have to go after the CEO level or the VP level in this case.
I do.
You don't have to. Those guys are
Yeah.
sometimes going to be a little more challenging to get in touch with, because they're probably going to have a little bit better filtering process.
Mhm.
But I do like the concept of swimming upstream a little bit, and trying to leverage people who have a little bit more
Mhm.
influence in the organization. So I do like that.
Yeah. I mean, in smaller companies, because that's another thing I also focus on too, is smaller companies.
Yep.
Anybody with between 0 and 500 employees, sometimes 1,000. Um, and I focus my LinkedIn on everybody, CEOs, the COO, anybody that has input into their logistics of
So
the
when you say
company.
0 to 500, you mean employees, right? They have
Yeah.
less than 500 employees.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are typically going to be classified as small to medium sized businesses. Yeah, whether it sounds a little weird, a company that has 500 employees is actually classified as a small business, right?
Yep.
Someone who has 5,000 or 10,000 employees, that's a much larger business, right?
Right.
So yeah, so I like that. I really like that filtering process. I really like that system. And I think it makes a ton of sense. And not only that, I mean, I'm a huge proponent of LinkedIn and social selling, and you're using it. You've literally used it to build your business. You let off this call with saying you hate cold calling. You won't make a cold call. The worst case scenario, you're going to make a warm call. And that warming up process is what you described today. And I mean, to me, it's no wonder that you've seen great success. Obviously, you're providing great service on the back end. Otherwise, people wouldn't continue to do business with you after that first load or two.
Yeah.
Um, so listen, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap it up and go into Q&A?
Um, no, I mean, it's just like Dennis said, it's a very simple process. Um, does it get time consuming sometimes? Yes, it does. But, you know, you have to invest the time to get a return. And I mean, that's basically it. I mean, that's all I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, that's perfect. I love it. It's simple, it's duplicatable, and it's something that's working for you.
Yeah.
So obviously, you're going to continue to do that. And for those of you that are interested in actually having the no cold calling course that Mike took, as well as the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator that Mike was a part of, um, what he's doing, some of the things he's doing are the fundamentals of those programs. If you guys are curious about that and you want to check that out, it's closing today. Again, the link is up on the screen, freightbrokerbootcamp.com/FBSA. You can check it out. If the cart is still open, if the page is still there, then we're still accepting enrollments. If it's not, then you're going to have to try to catch the next class. But I can tell you the next cohort is not going to go live until after the first of the year. And the reality is I've held the price down as long as I can. Probability is that course is going to double in price at the beginning of the year. So if you want to take advantage of that, make sure you check it out at freightbrokerbootcamp.com/FBSA. Mike, I want to thank you so much. Congratulations on all your success. $1.2 million without making any cold calls. That's quite the accomplishment. Thank you for
Thank you.
being here.
Anytime.
Continued success. We'll bring you back on here from time to time. Maybe when you start hitting 5 million, we'll bring you back on here again. And
Yeah, hoping by the end of next year.
love it. That would be
Yeah.
great. Yeah. So you've been adding some agents, so that's great. And listen,
Yeah.
if you if you're looking for agents, why don't you let people know how they can connect with you if they want to become an agent? Maybe that's something they could reach out to you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn or through Facebook.
Yeah. And it's
Through
Mike
the
Burke, Burke, correct?
correct.
Correct. Yeah. So look,
Yep.
check him out on LinkedIn. I'm sure that in the comments here down below in the live, he can
Yep.
probably throw his email down in there, and you guys can connect with him. Thank you so much for being here. Congrats on all
Yep.
your success. And listen, if you're just getting started and you're not, you're just in the early stages of getting started and need some startup training, right? Specific to becoming a freight broker, freight agent, you can check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. We've trained over 10,000 students, been in business over a decade, and we have a 60-day, 100% unconditional money back guarantee on that program. So feel free to check that out. All right, great. Let's jump into some Q&A. So I'm going to grab a drink. You can stretch here for a second, and then we're going to jump into some Q&A real quick. Here's what I can promise you guys. We're not going to get to all your questions. Okay. I wish we could. There just will not be enough time. Number one, Mike has to run a business. He was already kind of, stretching his time just to get in here and share with you this today. So I thank him for that. But if you guys have questions, hit us up in the comments. We will try to use the questions that make the most sense. Try to be very clear with your questions. If you have a generic question, I'm probably not going to pick it. It needs to be very specific. Now, it could be about what we talked about today, or it could be about anything related to making money and building a successful freight broker or freight agent business. Okay. And if you have a specific question for Mike, you can direct it to Mike or to me or to both. All right. So let's see what we got. All right. Congrats, Gigi. She's enrolled, it sounds like, in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Okay, so here you go. I think this is for you, Mike. Aaron asked, did you have any business management experience or background?
Yes, I did. Actually, I was an administrator in a hospital for probably about 15 years. So I have that kind of background. Did I have a sales experience? No. No,
That's why
not
he
at
doesn't
all.
like that's why he doesn't like cold calling, and he
Yeah.
figured out a way not to cold call.
So, I mean, yeah, having a business background is essential. But you can learn as you go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, dealing with people, communicating, those sorts of things, being able to really, probably one of the most valuable skills you learn in the corporate world that will translate over here is communication.
right.
Okay. Because you're dealing with people, not only customers or patrons, but you're also dealing with your boss and people within your group and within your community, right? So I mean, that communication skill that you develop there, the professional communication skill that you develop, is one of those things that can pay great dividends. Now obviously you need how to convert that into a sales format, because again, you're going to have to sell if you're going to build a successful business. But yeah, I think, again, Mike didn't have the sales background, but he converted that communication skill into a format that worked for him. Right?
Right.
Perfect. I love it. All right. Here's a question from Danielle Rowe. Do you work with freight agents? I would like to start as a freight agent before going to be a freight broker. Any advice is welcome. Yes, I'm enrolled in FBBC online course. Great. All right. So Danielle is already a member of Freight Broker Bootcamp. She's in the process of taking that course. You hire agents, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you hire
You
agents
know,
that don't have experience? Or are you looking for agents that only have a book of business? What is your criteria?
um, basically, I've hired some in the beginning that didn't have any experience, trained them, and they find out, they're all gung ho for the first month and a half, and they realize, wow, this is harder than, I thought, and then they leave.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am, I wasted, 15, 20 hours trying to train them and get them up to speed, and it's frustrating.
Yep.
Um, so basically, you're going to go through a rigorous interview if you don't have experience. And I mean, you need to understand that it's a tough business. You're going to be busy 12 hours a day. Your family needs to understand that, sometimes once you start moving customers, can become a 24-hour job. I mean, there's times I've been up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning trying to get carriers loads recovered because they broke down, and I've been calling their dispatcher or whoever to get another truck there to pick this load up because they can't move it. I mean, that happens. I mean, thankfully it's only happened one time for me, knock wood, but
Yeah.
it does happen. So it is a lot of work, and yes, I do hire unexperienced agents and train them.
But you're
But yeah,
selective. But you're selective
yeah,
on who you pick. Yeah.
yeah,
The fact is,
and
he's not going to take every single person that applies. He's looking for people who have the right ingredients that he believes are going to allow them to be successful. Because number one, he doesn't want to waste his own time. But number two, he doesn't want to waste your time, right?
yep.
If you
Oh
don't
yeah,
have what it takes to put in the time and effort and energy and or the resources to get from zero to getting your first couple customers where you can start getting some positive cash flow, he doesn't want to waste your time or his. So he knows what he feels are those ingredients. He's going to walk you through an interview process, but he's willing to accept you as an applicant and probably interview you. So there's no guarantee, but you could reach out to Mike, and you could set up some start a dialogue through LinkedIn or through Facebook,
yep.
and from there you
Or you
guys
can send me your
see where it goes.
resume to info at Teddy's TEDDYS logistics.com.
Got it. I'm going to put it in the info at Teddy's plural, right? Logistics
Yeah, yep,
plural.com. Info
yep,
at Teddy's plural logistics plural.com.
yep.
Send freight agent resume. All right. So I just added that to the comments. Okay. So everybody should be able to pull that easily if you guys are interested in reaching out to Teddy. Okay. Great. Good question, Danielle. And good luck. I'm sure you'll do great. All right. Let's see. Scrolling. Okay. All right. So here's a question from Nextlinks. How can I find ocean freight carriers? All right. So listen, here's what you have to understand. You're not going to book ocean freight direct with an ocean liner. That's not what brokers do.
No.
Okay. In order to do that, you are going to have to become an NVOCC and a freight forwarder, right? So if you want to move ocean freight as a freight broker, as a licensed freight broker, you're typically going to be doing that through an international freight forwarder. So that freight forwarder is going to be your provider. Now they have a direct contract and relationship with the ocean liners, right? With the actual ships. So you're going to be working through a channel, right? So they have a relationship and contract with ocean freight liners. And they can basically, they're a wholesaler when they're working with you as a broker. So they're going to give you a price, and then you're going to have to mark it up. Now, the great part about that as a broker, if you have a load or if you want to specialize in that, is the fact that they're going to do all the work. Okay. That's the great part about it. They're going to have to worry about handling, dealing with the customs clearance. They're going to deal with the drayage on both sides. They're going to deal with the ocean liner. They're going to do all that, because you got to understand, when a container picks up in China, it picks up from a manufacturing facility, and then a truck has to bring it to the port. And then from the port, it goes on a ship. And then on the ship, it comes overseas and then comes into our port. And then it goes on to a truck on our end until it gets the final delivery. So it's an intermodal, multimodal approach to moving freight, from one country to another. The cool part about it is that if you work with a freight forwarder in that situation, they're going to do all the work for you. They're literally going to give you a price. You're going to give them all the pickup and relevant information. And then from there, they're really going to take the ball and manage it all the way through from pickup to delivery. So, that's more of an outsourced ocean type approach. But if you want to go direct to ocean liners, you'd have to become an international freight forwarder. That would be the only way that would work for you. Teddy, did you have anything you want to add? I know you don't focus on the ocean freight side. You focus on the port side once it hits the port. But is there anything you wanted to add to that?
No, you pretty much covered it. As a broker, you either work through your customer who is working with the freight forwarder to get all the custom stuff done, and then you make the arrangements for the carriers to pick it up and bring it to either a warehouse for transloading or directly to the customer.
But you're really not handling the ocean side. You're really handling the
Yeah,
drayage. And
yeah,
typically, if you're going to do drayage as a broker, you're going to handle drayage on the US based side. So it's going to be drayage outbound or drayage inbound, right? And we're a bigger importer than we are an exporter,
right,
but it goes both ways. So you could also do export. Teddy does more import, but you could also do the exact same thing he's doing on the export side.
right.
All right, cool. Next question. All right, so here's a question from Rajinder. For the Sales Accelerator program, is it better to have some cold calling experience or to have moved a load? Would it be beneficial for someone who hasn't made any calling yet to wait for the next class? No, here, the Freight Sales Accelerator takes the entire sales process. Module 1, we talk about the proper mindset. Okay. It's the mindset that's required in order for you to even start doing this outreach and be successful in sales. And then in the next module, we talk about filling your sales funnel, right? And then we talk about follow up and overcoming objections. And then we talk about closing the sale. And then we talk about customer retention. Then we talk about how to leverage technology. So it's the entire system. See, rather than just teaching you some one-off techniques or one-off strategies or one-off, cold call pitches, what I believe is much more effective is what Mike did, which is he developed a system. He used the framework that I taught him, and then he created a system within his business. So what I do with Freight Broker Sales Accelerator is that same thing. I give you the system. Now you can customize it to your own because there are a lot of opportunities for you to customize it, but ultimately you're going to use that proven system. So if you're a new broker and you're literally just getting started, or you're a new agent, you're just getting started, this will literally expedite the process for you. Now, I can't guarantee you success. I can't guarantee it at all. But here's what I know for sure. If you don't do this and you don't have any sales background, or you don't have any cold calling experience, I can tell you it's going to be a much harder road than if you do have these fundamentals and you do have this system, right? So we do offer a 14-day, 100% unconditional money back guarantee. So there's literally zero risk for you if you do enroll in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. And that's really about as good as I can get, right? So again, get enrolled. That's going to end. Enrollment ends today. All right. So if you click on that link, you will see exactly all the details about the program as well as the link to get enrolled. Good question. Thank you. All right. So here's a question for you, Mike. When focusing on drayage, what is the most valuable thing a customer looks for in a broker?
Basically, your word. Your word is the most valuable thing. Don't make promises you can't keep, because they'll drop you in a heartbeat, and just be honest with them. Hey, that's an impossible move, for the price you want to pay. I have customers that give me these like lanes sometimes that are completely impossible. You do your research and you find out like there's no trucks out there in that area, and it's like, well, got to come up with money. But again, that is the most valuable thing, whether it's drayage or just basic, moving a dry van load or a flatbed load. Just be honest. Don't bullshit them. And and they can read, and, they deal with enough bullshit every day, so they know when they're being bullshitted. So.
Yeah, I love that you just said that, because here's the thing. I led off the training with the concept of know, like, and trust. Those are fundamental to any sale. You can't go from not knowing somebody to trust. They have to know who you are, which is kind of what Mike did in this whole LinkedIn and no cold calling system. And then he built rapport. They got to like him, and then they trusted him. Without the trust, there is no sale. Without the trust, there is no customer relationship. Okay. So the second part of what Mike said was, that was really important, is under promise and over deliver, right? So if they give you a very difficult load at a very low rate, don't just say, yeah, I've got it covered, and then fail on the back end. Be honest. let them know that, the capacity is very, very tight in that lane and I can move it for you, but it's going to cost you X amount of money. Now, if they're not willing to pay that, then you're not willing to fail just because of the fact that they're delusional about what they think is going to happen in the market, right? Just because what they paid last year this time doesn't have anything to do with what they're going to pay this year this time or last month. The dynamics of pricing is driven by supply and demand, and it can change quickly sometimes. Now, it doesn't usually have a really rapid increase or decrease. Now, obviously, we've had some very extenuating circumstances with COVID and with fuel and price increases and stuff. But ultimately, in a normal market, prices are fairly stable. So, yeah, I love that advice. I think that makes a ton of sense. Let's see what else we got. Mike, did you have experience with drayage and transloading prior to finding customers for that service? I don't think so. You said you didn't.
No.
Yeah, no, he didn't have any experience. He just saw demand.
Yeah, saw the demand, did research, and made connections, and was able to go from there.
Perfect.
And as a broker also too, I mean, we're sitting here saying we have to have respect for the customer. You also have to have major respect for your carrier, because I've built relationship with a lot of carriers that are calling me every single day. You got any more loads for me? You got any loads? And when I have them, I call them back and say, hey, I do, and they'll make room to get me on that list and get my stuff picked up and moved because of the way I treat them and the way I pay them. And again, I don't bullshit my carriers.
Yeah, so that trust factor goes on both sides of the equation, right? That like, and trust is the same thing with developing carrier relationships, right? If they don't trust you, that you're going to tell them the truth, or you're going to set them up to fail, or you're not going to pay them on time, they're not going to do business with you. It's really simple, right? Yep. So yeah, I mean, use that same framework. All right, next question. So far, what I can see is brokers bidding low on customer freight and cannot get good customers through cold calling. Any advice? Well, Oprah, you can get customers through cold calling. I have students that get customers through cold calling every day, but it's not the only way to do it, right? And the second part that you mentioned, which was trying to be the cheapest. If you bid too low on freight, see, here's the thing. I say this all the time. It's very easy for you to try to be the cheapest. It's very easy for you to try to be the most expensive. The hard part about rating, right, and providing freight quotes is finding what I call the sweet spot, which is slightly more than what they're paying, maybe $50, $100, maybe even $200 more than what they're paying for that load. But still keeping yourself in the game so that you can sell enough value to the shipper that you can develop that relationship so that they'll at least give you the first load, so you can continue to build that trust. So yeah, you don't want to be the cheapest. Cold calling does work, but again, if you're just doing a one size fits all cold call, smile and dial, trying to make hundreds of calls a day, thoughtlessly, just randomly using some cold call pitch, it's going to be a very low ROI game. That's the reason why I put the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator together. The most important part of the sales call that you're going to learn in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator is getting their attention. You have to get their attention. These people are busy. They get a lot of calls. They're juggling a lot of balls. And if you can't get their attention, you're going to struggle getting to step number 2. So you got to get their attention. And that's all part of creating a compelling sales hook, or having my whole concept of this sales hook framework that I've put together, where you can create a compelling sales hook and start a dialogue, right? So there's a lot of components to that afterwards, but cold calling does still work. It's not for everybody. Mike figured out a no cold calling format that I shared with him, and he's kind of perfected in his own system. But there's a lot of different ways to get customers. If you're looking for help and you're struggling with cold calling and you're making a lot of calls and you're not having any success, you are the absolute person that needs to enroll in Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. I can tell you right now, because if you don't get some help, here's what's going to happen. 30, 60, 90 days from now, the bills are going to pile up faster than the commissions or faster than the profit, and you're going to go out of business, because you can only have so long of a runway before you start getting some traction with shippers. and cash flow is king, right? You've got to have that cash coming in the door. So you've got to, if all you got out of this program was one small shipper doing one load a week, right? That's $10,000 a year if you're only making a couple $100 a load. And I assure you that would be that's not what we're striving for, and that's not what a lot of students are able to parlay this into. Many of them have converted into 6 and 7. Some of my students are even doing $1 million a month. Okay, Yogi Goswami did over $1.8 million last month, right, in 1 month. But he understands the value and the importance of selling, and he understands how to do it, and he has a system in place. And that's the difference. Ultimately, the difference between someone that's doing $500,000 a year in sales or $1 million a month really comes down to they have a proven sales system, right? Now, there's a lot of other components to it, but if you don't have that sales system, you're going nowhere fast. All right, let's see. A couple more questions. Okay, so Theodora asks, I have an LLC authority processing agent by bond and all the compliance set up. I'm overwhelmed with where to start. Will the course guide me on how to actually start and get my first client? I'm ready to put in my all. I'm already a member of Freight Broker Bootcamp. Yeah, okay, so yeah, we, as a part of the program, we teach the entire process of how to sell. We also include all these other bonuses in here, including the LinkedIn, my no cold calling system for freight brokers, which is a bonus that's included in that. We also include the shipper directory, and it's a downloadable version of that directory. We include a bunch of bonuses. What we don't do is we don't give you shippers, right? We're not going to make calls with you to shippers. We're not going to go sit down next to you in your office. We're going to teach you, right? We don't get shippers for you. I'm a big believer in feed a man to fish, teach versus feeding a man to fish, teach a man to fish, right? That old adage, right? I'd rather teach you how to fish so that you could take that information and take that skill that you're developing, and you could parlay that into, tens or hundreds of customers versus going out and getting the customers for you. I know a lot of people are, wondering, hey, can you give me some of your old shippers, or can you give me some leads of people that'll talk to me? Listen, that's part of the process. If I do that for you, then you're never going to learn how to do it on your own. And therefore you'll never have a successful business. So yeah, get enrolled. Again, it's a no risk proposition. It's zero risk. We offer a 14-day, 100% money back guarantee. You can go through the entire program, and I'm going to coach you for 2 weeks, because this Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program, just so you know, is a 5-week coaching program. It starts this week. So when you enroll, you're going to get the documentation, all the information you need in order to get enrolled in those live calls, which is, Zoom calls where we have everybody in that call, and I'm able to coach you one-on-one in those calls based on any questions or issues and help you implement the system for your business. Okay. So yeah, we do help you, but we can't get the shippers for you. Boom. All right. So here's a question for you, Mike. Did you try to move different freight before you chose your niche and decide to stay with it? Did you try to move any other niches before you fell into the whole import export deal trend, drayage?
Actually, I started, looking at the importing business right away, because that's where everybody, when I was starting out, was saying that's where the good money is. And and I like plastics. Plastics is a big business. There's a lot of companies out there. There's a lot of local companies to me. So that's why I went into drayage. But yes, I have reached out to other areas. I've done flatbed loads. I've done dry van loads all the time. The one industry I haven't touched on is reefer. Not interested in having a bunch of claims, especially if you get into the produce.
Yeah, if you have perishables, perishables can be challenging if you don't have the experience.
And also too, it's challenging when they go to the receivers and the receiver holds them up for 8 hours, and then and then they get into the dock and they're like, oh, your produce is ruined. Well, yeah, you kept me out here for 8 hours. What am I supposed to do? So
yep.
I stay away from that. That's not something I want to deal with. But yeah, I've looked at other areas. Plastics is my biggest. Auto parts I'm getting into.
But before you got, you focused on import export at the beginning, and now you're expanding out into some other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. All right. So next question. Shabrella asks, can the freight brokers work under another freight broker as an agent if the broker has not obtained his first shipper yet? All right. Well, it's a little confusing. So if you are working under another freight broker, you're not a freight broker, you're a freight agent, okay? Because you're an independent contractor working under them. So yeah, anybody can work under another broker. Now, the thing is, I think the underlying question you have is, could that be a starting point? And then eventually, can you pivot out into becoming your own brokerage? The answer to that is yes. But here's the thing. If you are a freight broker, if you're a freight agent working under a broker, you're going to sign an agreement, and that agreement is going to have terms and conditions as a part of that agreement. In order to break away, you're going to want to make sure you can abide by those terms and conditions. My suggestion to you is don't sign a non-compete. If you're an agent and you're an independent contractor, you need to make sure that that book of business that you develop over whatever period of time is portable and you can bring with you in the event that you choose to move. Now, many people that start out as freight agents and think that they're going to move into their own brokerage stay as freight agents because they realize it's a lot easier job to be a freight agent than it is a freight broker. And they don't want to take on the additional responsibility. And so, so go ahead.
And also too, I mean, as a freight agent, you can make big money too. And then you can start hiring freight agents under yourself and still be working for that same broker.
Yeah, you can have sub-agents if you choose. Yeah, there's things you can do with sub-agents and stuff. But
I mean, there are brokers out there who have agents that, have sub-agents. And I know one lady, she's an agent for a big-time broker. She's making almost between $2 and $3 million a year. And her sub-agents are, they're all making big money. So, I mean, it's out there. I mean, you can do it.
Yeah. But the answer is yes. If you have yet to get your freight broker authority and you want to start as an agent, I think that's a great way to go. If you choose to become a freight broker later, you can always get your authority and port your customers over.
Hey, Dennis.
Let's see what time. You got to go.
Yeah, I got to.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up, guys. Listen, truly appreciate you being here, my friend. Appreciate everybody who joined and asked questions. I know you're busy, man. Thank you so much. Congrats on all your success.
Thank you.
You can close off, and then I'm going to wrap it up with these guys. Again, thank you so much for being here. Good luck. Keep in touch, and let me know if I can be of help in any way. Okay.
All right. Good luck, guys. And anybody interested in becoming an agent, send me your resume.
All right. Sounds good, guys.
All right. Thanks.
All right, guys. So listen. Again, I appreciate Mike. He came in. He's a very straightforward, very upfront, very honest, very easy to get along with guy. And he's done extremely well using this very simple system. But here's the last thing I want to say to you guys. All right. If you need help getting shippers, whether you're brand new or whether you've been in the business for multiple months and you're struggling getting shippers, maybe you've gotten a few, but you haven't been able to really ramp up, or maybe you've already built a successful, 6 or 7 figure business, but you really want to scale. Check out Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. The link is on the screen. It closes out today. When you click on the link, you're going to see a timer that's going to expire today. Get enrolled. Again, we offer in this program, because it's a coaching program, right? This is a hybrid between an online course and a coaching program that goes for 5 weeks. You get lifetime access to all the information and the training and the recordings and all the downloads and all the tools. But ultimately, the only way you can do that is if you get started. So you can check that out at Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Does anybody have any last minute questions about Freight Broker Sales Accelerator? I'm not going to be able to handle all the other questions today, but if you guys do have specific questions about the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, I'm going to take another minute or two to answer those questions if you hit me up in the comments right now. Okay. Let me know if you guys have any questions about the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. All the details are at that link, freightbrokerbootcamp.com/FBSA. I'm sure there's a bunch of people on here that are already enrolled in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. I was going to cap that out at about 100. I've opened up a few more spots so that I could do this today, but it is going to close out today. Okay. So you definitely want to check that out. Again, we've had some, you can see on the page where you can enroll, you'll see the testimonials of past students that I've helped with this type of program. Mike is one of them, right? Mike's one of the guys who went through this program and then grabbed onto the no cold calling system. And he was able to do over $1.2 million in the last year. So I'm sure he's not disappointed about the investment, nor are most of the students that take care of it. Just so you guys know, at the end of the program, I send out a survey. After everybody's completed the program, the 5 weeks are over, I send out a survey to all the students. We've had over 200 people take that survey, that exit survey, okay, in the last several months. And I asked them, 1 to 10, what do you rate the program? 1 being terrible, 10 being amazing. And the average rate, I would have been happy with a 7 or 8. I would have been happy with a 7, really happy with an 8. We got a 9.2 out of 10 rating from over 200 students. Okay. So this is the best program I've ever put out there. I think it's going to have the biggest impact on you and on your business if you're serious about becoming a freight broker, freight agent. Gigi, you're going to get an email if you're already enrolled. It starts this week. The calls start this week. The first call, the first live call is Wednesday. But if people enroll, as soon as you enroll, you get instant access to the whole online course, which is the entire program. It's all online, but the coaching calls start on Wednesday. So you'll get an email where you can enroll in the coaching calls. You'll also get an email where you can log into the course and get all the information and start the ball rolling. So good question. Thanks for asking. Any other questions about the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator? I'm scrolling up through here to see if there was any other ones. Question and answer. What the different? Khalid got enrolled Friday. Awesome. And loved it. You loved it. All right. Awesome. 2 Zoom meetings per week. Yeah. Yeah. We're going to be, yeah, there's going to be 1 Zoom a week, okay, for 5 weeks. All right. So I'm live with the entire cohort. And during those live Zoom calls, you're going to have the ability to ask any questions you want. But more importantly, and I'll bring you up on stage, we'll talk about those questions. But more importantly, you are going to be able to learn from the questions of everybody else in that group because you're going to forget things. But the cool thing is when we're on module 1 or module 2 or module 3, someone's going to ask a question that you never thought of, and you're going to be able to learn in advance from the questions of others. So I love the group format, but then I am able to bring you guys up. So it's not like you have to type your questions out here in comments. We're actually going to be live on video, right? Or on audio, and we'll be talking to each other. So I'll actually be coaching you and mentoring you one-on-one for 5 weeks in this group program. Okay. So I can't make it any easier than that. And again, the price is ridiculously low compared to the value that you're going to get. If you get one small customer out of this, you're going to get a 10x ROI in just your first year. And that would be if you only got one small shipper. Okay. So you definitely want to get enrolled. Thank you guys so much for being here. Check it out if you guys haven't seen it yet. I'll be back next Monday with another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. If you haven't liked the stream, make sure you click like, share the stream if you got value out of this, and we'll see you guys next Monday at noon. Talk to you soon. And everybody who's in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, I'll see you Wednesday live on our first call.